London, this is Legally Cheeky. Please give a warm round of applause for it's me, Abigoliah Schamaun. Guys, for this story, I need you to cast your minds back to 2019. Do you all remember 2019? Yeah. Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. Lewis Capaldi had the #1 song in the UK, and Britain came dead last in Eurovision. It was a typical British year. It was 2019, and I was on the border of Lille, France, an hour into my interrogation. And the border patrol agent looks at me and says, "You will either be allowed back in the UK today, or you will be deported back to where you came from." And I was like, "I don't want to go back to Ohio. Could I go to Rwanda instead?" Because as we've discussed, I'm not from here, you know? I'm American. And I have to tell British audiences right up front, because so many times after shows, people will come up to me and be like, "Oh, are you Canadian?" And I'm like, "No, actually, I'm American." And they're like, "I thought so, I just didn't want to offend you." Well, now I'm offended. But in 2019, I lived here in London with my boyfriend Tom. We had been together for 5 years, so we were almost done. And he was English too, which as an American, the English accent, fucking thank you. It is the sexiest accent in the world, isn't it? Oh my God. And when me and Tom did make love, it was so hot because, you know, I made a lot of noise and he apologized for everything. He's like, "Oh, so sorry. Oh, terribly sorry. Oh, so sorry. Would you like some tea?" That's how he came. He was from Cornwall too, so he sounded like a gay pirate. "Like some tea?" Arrgh! It was so hot. I actually like being an American. I really do, because I came over here with all my American happiness and enthusiasm, and oh, it really fucked with y'all. Like sometimes I'd just be walking down the street smiling at people, making eye contact. You hate that. Just being like, "Beautiful day," and you guys were like, "Is it?" I loved being an American who lived in Britain. I, however, hated American tourists. Yeah, because they're too happy, aren't they? They're too enthusiastic, blow it all out of proportion. Like my little sister, she came to visit me once, flew all the way in from New Mexico, took one look at the British pound coin, and she was like, "Oh my God, their money, it's like pirate treasure." I'm like, don't say that to them. One time I was on a train, and there were some Americans sitting at that foretop table in the carriage, and I know that because I could hear them. Some of the stereotypes you have about my country are mean and untrue. Others, spot on. Like, we are loud. I don't even need the microphone. They were so excited to be traveling around Great Britain by train that they started to talk to other people in the carriage, not in their party, which we all know is forbidden. They started to talk to this English guy across the aisle just bragging about their travels. They were like, "Yeah, when we travel, we like to go off the beaten path. So we're going to places like Manchester and York." And the English guy just looked at him and was like, "Oh, York's lovely." And you could tell the Americans were mad the English guy had heard of York. Like, surely it must have occurred to them that the only reason why in America we have New York. Thank you for not making me finish that sentence. And Manchester, off the beaten path. That's like one of y'all going over to America and being like, "Oh my gosh, I just discovered this cute little village. You haven't heard of it. It's called Chicago." We were on that train for hours, and eventually the trolley woman made her way down the aisle with the little snicky snacks. They saw her, they freaked out. They were just like, "Oh my gosh, it's just like Harry Potter." And they looked at the trolley woman with all their American happiness, and enthusiasm. And they were like, tell us, what kind of tea do you have? And the trolley lady, she was so infused with their American happiness and enthusiasm that she answered in kind, tea. Finally, one of them was like, I will have tea. It sounds authentic. Could you put the milk in first, please? I nearly stood up and yelled, go back to where you came from, Brittany. We're full. Which is funny when I say it, but cruel when you do, so don't do that. We got 2 hours from our destination, and that is when Brittany decided it'd be the most opportune time to pull out the book The Hobbit and read it out loud. Out loud, proving, ha ha ha, yes, Americans, we can read, but only if we've seen the movie first. And here's the thing, like before I had lived in London town, I had lived in New York City for 10 years. And if that city taught me 2 things, it's that politeness is a weakness, and don't lick your fingers after you've been on the subway. This was my moment on the train to be the good American, you know, to go over to Brittany and be like, excuse me, I don't think you understand the situation, but you're in the quiet coach. And what you are doing is punishable by death. But did I do that? No. Because that is the moment I realized I have lived among you all for too long. Because instead of putting Brittany in her place, what I did was exchange a glance with the woman next to me and just go, I got home from that trip and I told my partner Tom about the tut, and he looked at me with such pride in his eyes as a single tea-stained tear dripped down his cheek. And he just said, finally, you're one of us. And that's when we decided to go for a partnership visa. Now, a partnership visa is exactly like a marriage visa, only because you're not married, you have to prove to the Home Office you're a couple. You do it by sending them everything. Bank statements, tenancy agreements, letters from friends and families, photos from Facebook, text messages. It winds up being a 250-page document. You send it to the Home Office and you pay them $3,000 to read it. I know that sounds like a lot of money to you guys, but you have to understand, in America, $3,000 is the cost of one ambulance ride. So I'm making money by staying. It was so hard to get this document together, because Tom and I, we weren't paperwork people, you know? I'm a stand-up comedian. Tom was a filmmaker. Writing a legal document proving our love was very hard, but we could whip you up a rom-com in a week. And medically, we can't even do paperwork. We have a doctor's note for that. We do, because a while ago, Tom, he was in a bit of a dark place and he was spending a lot of time online, which is a very dangerous place for a white man in his mid-30s. Thank you for laughing at that. Those of you who didn't, I can hear you think, well, Facebook's a fine place to read the news. He wasn't on any problematic websites. In fact, Tom was doing something very positive. He was doing a lot of reading about neurodivergency. And after doing so much reading, Tom came to me and he was like, Abigoliah, I think I might be autistic. To which I responded, don't be ridiculous. You're not autistic. You're just English. What? He's emotionally repressed. He loves an orderly queue, and he thinks salt is spicy. It's just being English. I should have helped Tom, though, you know? I should have supported him. Instead, he did it all on his own. He went, he got an assessment, and guess what? He's autistic. And I felt so bad. But do you know what autistic people love as an apology? Blowjobs. It's the rhythm. And the lack of eye contact. I'll give some of you a moment to self-diagnose. After doing so much reading Tom, he then came to me, and he was like, Abigoliah, I think you might have ADHD. To which I responded, I don't have ADHD, I'm just American. I'm loud, I'm talkative, I'm fun, that's not ADHD, that's USA. And he was like, no, you definitely have ADHD because you get distracted so easily. But by that point, I was already on my phone. And I just looked at him and I was like, aren't bees fascinating? And we got into a big fight about it. And finally I was like, oh, I'll just go get an assessment just to prove Tom wrong. And I was serious. I went private. I paid to win that argument. Swipe my card and call me Bezos. It's the most American thing I've ever done. I got the assessment. I have ADHD. And the doctor was like, oh, ADHD can manifest differently in women. Like, one of the symptoms can be info dumping. Well, you'll just talk and talk and talk and talk and not let anyone get a word in edgewise. And I was like, you call that an ADHD symptom. I call that comedy special. And the doctor was like, would you like some medication to help manage your ADHD? But this medication is an amphetamine. And I was like, yes, please. Because previously, I've had to go to an independent provider. And the doctor was like, when you start these meds, because they're an amphetamine, you're going to have to give up coffee. And I was like, I don't think so. I am a New Yorker. Telling me not to drink coffee is like telling a British person not to talk about the weather. And what they do when they start you on ADHD meds is they start you on a really low dose just to hook you in like any good dealer. Someone's on them. You and me, kid. And then they slowly move you up. And the doctor started me on my lowest dose, and he goes, are you still drinking coffee? And I was like, yeah. And it's not affecting me at all, so booyah. Doctor moved me up, second highest dose, and he asked me, he goes, are you still drinking coffee? And I was like, yeah, and it's not affecting me at all, so booyah. Doctor moved me up, highest dose I am supposed to be on. I took my pill, I had 2 cups of coffee, I felt like I'd been doing lines with Daniela Westbrook. Do you guys understand that reference? Because I don't. All I know is I took those pills and I was bouncing off the walls. I was like, look, Tom, I'm the fastest woman ever. Watch me twirl, Tom. Watch me twirl. God bless my autistic boyfriend is in noise-canceling headphones and a weighted blanket just like... It was still so hard to get this document together, even once I was on medication, because pills don't make skills. And some of my friends would ask, they'd be like, why don't you and Tom just get married? It'd be so much easier. And the simple answer is because he wouldn't marry me, and I was fine with that. No, really. It wasn't a big deal, because as a child, for Halloween, I went as a bride 4 years in a row. So I've had my day. We talked about it, and Tom, he had a good reason why he didn't want to get married. He didn't want to get married because both of his parents had been married twice and divorced twice, and to him, that proved that marriage wasn't a thing that worked. Whereas I wanted to get married because both my parents had been married twice and divorced twice, and I wanted to prove I could do life better. But that's not a good enough reason to get married, so we went for the partnership visa instead, which arguably much bigger deal, because if you get married and it doesn't work out, you get divorced, which is very sad. If we had gotten this partnership visa and it hadn't worked out, we would have had to then notify the Home Office, and I would have had 30 days to leave the country. And I only bring this up because if you're someone who can't stand seeing your exes after a breakup, date a foreign person. We have to leave right after. It was so stressful that Tom and I even hired a lawyer. And when I say we hired a lawyer, I have a friend who is an immigration lawyer, stand-up comedian, and burlesque dancer. Wow. I know. Most people, when they think of a high-powered lawyer, they think of a man in an expensive suit. Not me. I want a black woman from Barbados who can write a brief, tell a joke, and twirl a nipple tassel all at the same time. That's power. And her name is Twix, like the candy bar, so what could go wrong? Because she has 3 jobs, she's always working. So I called her up and I was like, hey, candy bar lawyer. And she was gluing sequins onto a thong. She was like, what do you want? And I was like, could you be my lawyer? And she was like, I'll do it for free. And I was like, you are hired. And she was like, don't worry, you and Tom, you're definitely going to get this partnership visa because you meet all the criteria, you're perfect for it, you're a shoo-in. Because I don't know how much you guys know about UK immigration, but I have a very advantageous complexion. I'm white. I was born into the middle class. I'm university educated. I even speak English, arguably. And I feel you all getting real fucking tense right now. Because we're in Soho, and we're all very liberal. And I know white privilege is a huge systemic problem that needs to be addressed. But when I was applying for my partnership visa, I was like, we will address it tomorrow. I've done this show probably 50 times, and I still use my notes. And maybe you guys have caught on to that, and you might be like, Abigoliah, you're filming your special. Why do you still have your notes on stage? I want you to know that I am in this room with you right now. I am 100% in this room with you. But I also have ADHD, so I'm also imagining what it would be like if I was cast on The Traitors. So it's not that I'm not with you, it's that I can't hold these in my head because I'm imagining what I'd say to Claudia Winkleman. I gave Tom one job when it came to getting this whole document together, just one, collate our text messages. Now, you don't need all of them, but it's very important to get the ones at the very beginning to establish contact. And Tom came to me and he was like, Abigoliah, I don't think we can send the Home Office any of our text messages from the first 4 months of dating. You guys understand? We're visual people. And I told Tom, I was like, it'll be fine, just black out the photos. And he was like, no, you don't understand. And he just showed me this screen grab from 2014. And all it said was, I want your ass more than I want whiskey. I was like, Tom, you used to say the sweetest things to me. And he was like, I did not write that, you did. Yeah, I did. Because Tom is sexy, you know. He's so sexy. He's really tall and slim and pale with sharp, gappy teeth. So he looks like a sexy Nosferatu. He's got these beautiful almond-shaped eyes with really, really long eyelashes. So from the nose up, he looks like a sexy cow. He shaved his head completely bald, so he looks like a problematic podcaster. But he's not, so he's sexy. And before I would leave for gigs, sometimes he'd look at me and just go, don't forget to tell the audience how devilishly handsome I am. So I put this little chunk in the show, because if he ever sees it, he'll hate it. Tom was my absolute muse. I knew he was the one on our first date because we were talking about our hobbies, and I was telling him how I like to run, and he just looks at me and goes, no, I can't run. Every time I do it, I turn really red and I get out of breath. I'm allergic. Okay, that deserved more. That's the only time I'll say that this show, because that is fucking funny, okay? I did not write that. That's what made me fall in love with Tom. I was like, did you come up with that yourself? And he was like, yeah, I did. And I was like, good, I've always wanted a writing partner. But he changed a lot. He went through a lot of changes when we were together. Like, so I'm bisexual, right? And whenever I tell people, they're like, we know. You know, because I have a vibe, don't I? Like, gentlemen, I'll make you laugh, but I'll fuck your wife. Like, I look like I could carry 2 hogs under each arm. Like, I've got the tits of a stripper, but the shoulders of a bouncer. Like, I am devilishly handsome. But when we were together, Tom also came out as bisexual. Not only is Tom bisexual, but he likes to dress a little femme. Like, he slays in a miniskirt. He loves high heels. And when he gets all dressed up, he looks like he could be a contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race. I know, it's so sexy, but I look like I came in third in an actual drag race. And the way the whole thing came about was I was telling Tom, I was like, there's just something about Tim Curry in Rocky Horror Picture Show that just gets me going. You guys are familiar with Rocky Horror Picture Show, Tim Curry, right? We are in Soho, right? Oh my God, when he enters the film, if you haven't seen it, you must remember, Tim Curry enters the film, stockings, black corset, and he walks in and he's like, how you do I? And I'm like, wet. Oh my God, I loved it. And I told Tom, and he was like, really? You're into that? You like a guy who dresses femme? And I was like, absolutely. I think it's very sexy. And Tom was like, well, I could do that if you wanted me to. I don't have to. And I was like, I'd like that very much. And he was like, I would like to do that. And he did that, and we did it, and it was fucking fabulous. Before I dated Tom, I dated a U.S. Marine, a New York City firefighter, and an FBI agent. Like, I like a man in a uniform, but I love a man in a dress. Like, oh my God. And I kind of knew that Tom was bi before he told me. You're not supposed to say that, but I had my feeling. Because when we first started dating, we disclosed our sexual history to each other, and he ended his disclosure with, but I'm not gay. And I was like, well, we'll circle back to that when you're ready. You know? And before he came out of the closet, sometimes what he'd do is he'd just dress up around the flat to make himself feel good, you know, put on a little skirt, put on a little high heel. And he once told me to my face, ladies, he looks at me and goes, I don't know what women are talking about. High heels are easy to walk in. And I was like, yeah, Tom, because our living room's not cobbled. And then he did it. He came out of the closet. He told our friends and our family. Some of my friends were very surprised because he always presented very masculine. And they were like, Abigoliah, did you know? Of course I knew. Who do you think was washing his dresses? But he did it. He came out of the closet, and we celebrated by going to this big nightclub together, and he got all dressed up for public for the first time. He wore a beautiful dress. He wore his highest heels. And when we were at the nightclub, he fell down the stairs. I've never felt more vindicated in my life. But what do you think would be the best thing about dating someone who dresses femme when you also dress femme? What do you think it is? Shout it out.
Sharing clothes.
Sharing clothes, exactly. That's what I thought as well. You know, sharing clothes. This is going to be awesome. My wardrobe's going to double. But like I said, Tom is a statuesque beauty. And sometimes I'd look at him and be like, Tom, can I borrow this dress to wear on stage tonight? And he'd look at me and go, no, you'll only stretch it out. That gay autistic bitch. But he's my gay autistic bitch. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have known I had ADHD. And if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't know why there are stair banisters. And so he's queer, and I'm queer, and I have ADHD, and he's autistic, and he also got diagnosed with ADHD because he'll let me have nothing for myself. And we're in love, but all of that is very hard to put into a legal document. But we got it together, all 250 pages of it. And once it's together, you have to hand deliver it to a government building in Croydon. Because everything about immigration is sad. And we hand delivered the document. We paid a little extra for an early decision. And we got home that afternoon, and we were like, we did it. It's done. The hard part's over. And we took a nap, and we woke up that afternoon to an email from the Home Office saying my visa had been rejected. Here's the thing of it, guys. We sent that document in at 9 a.m. They sent us a rejection at 12 p.m. It was 250 pages. I don't think they read it. And I took time with that document. I made it fun. I made it interesting. We left in the photos. And we couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe that we were rejected, and we were just waiting. waiting for a reason, waiting to understand why. And because when you apply for a partnership visa, you have to make a case of why you can't live in the other country. In our case, it was America. And Tom and I talked about it, and he said he couldn't live in America because there wasn't enough pessimism. And Americans were crap at banter. And I was like, Tom, I don't think that we can use the excuse that Americans are no fun at a pub for the reason why I have to remain. So what we did was we concentrated on Tom's health issues. And when we got our rejection letter, Oh, is this a comedy special where I'm going to read you legal documents? Yes, it is. Because I am what they call a good time gal. But we got a rejection letter, and we were just waiting to see why I was rejected. And this is all they said. They said, you mentioned your partner, that was Tom, has been diagnosed with skin cancer twice and has had several severe injuries due to accidents, which would count as pre-existing conditions and would not be covered under American health insurance. It is open for your partner to remain in the UK. However, you should leave the UK. That was it. That's all they wrote. That's not even a reason. That's not even a reason. The Home Office just suggested we break up. It's like the Home Office is that friend of Tom's who's just not that into me, who's like, mate, you could do better. She bites her fork when she eats. Because of her ADHD, she once bought tampons, lost them because she put them in the fridge. At least those are reasons. The Home Office, they didn't give us a reason. So we called up Candy Bar lawyer, and she had just gotten out of court, and she was on her way to do a striptease in Soho. I could hear the Swarovski crystals clacking as she walked. And she was like, what do you want? And I was like, our visa, it got rejected. And she goes, it's okay. What we'll do is we'll appeal to the first tier tribunal courts. A tribunal is much like a trial, but a tribunal isn't as serious. And I was like, I don't know about that, because I'm pretty sure Nuremberg was a tribunal. And she goes, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to leave the country, get another one of your work visas, and re-enter. So when we go to court, you're legal again. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. Now, some of you guys might have clocked it. You might be like, Abigoliah, you said all of this happened in 2019. Yet, you had been living in the UK since 2014. How did you do that? Well, you got to know a guy. You gotta know a guy. And I thought this was gonna be a really super covert, seedy operation where I'd call up a guy and be like, hi, I'd like to live and work in the UK as a comedian. And he'd be like, okay, meet me on the corner of Camden Town, the one that smells most of piss. And I'd be like, I know the one. And he'd be like, bring me 400 quid, but only in pound coins. And I'd be like, I have the pirate treasure. In truth, it's not that convoluted. In fact, what it is you get a sponsor, and they write you a letter, and you leave the country and re-enter with that letter, and that means you are valid to live in the UK for 3 months. So that's what I was doing every 3 months. I would leave the UK, I would see the Louvre, and then I'd come back. I'd leave the UK and I'd see Anne Frank's house, and I'd come back. I'd leave the UK and I'd see freedom of movement across 27 countries. And I'd come back. I have been to every major European city for 2 hours, which is all you need to look well-traveled on Instagram. So the following day, I boarded a train to Lille, France. And naturally, I am in France. I want to take in the culture. So, of course, I go to a French cafe, and I order the carbonara. Because France is closer to Italy, so it's more authentic. It was muy bueno. Oh, God, thank you so much for laughing at that. Because I cannot tell you in how many cities I've done this show where people just go, does she know she's not speaking French right now? Does she know? I finished my carbonara, and I walk back to the train station, and the Border Patrol agent scans my passport, and she looks at me and goes, have you ever been denied entry into the UK? And I said no, because I haven't. And I don't know if you guys know this, but when they scan your passport, all sorts of things come up, like if you've ever committed a crime, and I have never been caught. And she looks at me real angry and she goes, have you ever been denied entry into the UK? And I thought something was getting lost in translation because of my enthusiastic American accent. So I tried to answer her in a more English way. And I was like, oh, terribly sorry. No, Bob's your uncle. Glad you like that. She did not like that at all. And she finally yells at me, I need you to tell me the truth. Have you ever been denied a visa? And I was like, you didn't ask me that, did you, you little bitch? I was like, yes, of course, I was denied a visa yesterday. That is why I'm here, getting a new visa today, so I can enter the country legally, just like you like your immigrants. And then she goes, here's the problem. You have been renewing these 3-month visas every 3 months for 5 years. Which you're not supposed to do, but it's not illegal. And I was like, let's focus on the not illegal part. And she goes, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I will write your answers down verbatim. I will then fax them to my superior, and it will be decided whether you are allowed back in the UK today or you are deported back to where you came from. First of all, fax machine? In 2019, they say there's a backlog in immigration, and I think I've cracked the case. Fucking fax machine? Are you serious? I could walk the answers back faster than a fax machine. Try using fucking email. And she throws down this paper that they ask everyone when they're being detained, and I am freaking out because I have got to get this right. And she looks at the first question, and she looks at me and goes, would you like a cup of tea? And I was like, oh, this is the test. This is the test right here. And here's the truth of it, guys. I don't like tea. I don't like tea. I think it looks and tastes like dirty dishwater. Keep it in the harbor where it belongs. But I am racking my brain because there's an exchange you all have about the tea all over this country. There's this back and forth, and I'm freaking out, and I'm racking my brain, and finally, all of my British training just kicks in, and I looked at her and go, well, I'll have one if you are. And boom, they let me back in the country. But our story is not over yet, because we still had to appeal to the first-tier tribunal courts. And here's the thing, 87% of partnership visas, the one I was applied for, are accepted. Only 13% are ever rejected. So what was wrong with me? I was told this would be easy. Hell, if you were to believe the Daily Mail, all you have to do to live in this country is hop in a boat and pop over. I'm not even a real immigrant. And I know this because I've had very conservative Brexit voting people, English people, tell me how immigrants are coming here to steal jobs and then see my Wonder Bread complexion and go, but you're okay. Make no mistake, I came here to steal jobs. If you don't believe me, ask any male comedian. As I've told this story, people can understand how scary it is to be detained at the border, and people totally understand how intimidating it is to have to go to court and fight for your right to remain in a country that you were not born into. But that is not the worst part. The worst part is the waiting. The waiting is what churned your stomach into just this knot of anxiety and acid, because if you do not know where you are going to live, you cannot plan your future. I was detained at the border for a few hours. I sat in a courthouse for a day. Waiting to see where I was going to live took a year. A year is the first thing you think about when you wake up, and it is the last thing you think about when you go to bed. And it's not like if I'm deported, then the UK Home Office get someone else to pay all of my bills over here. No, I would have had to leave this country, go to America, found a job, found a flat, found a car, because you need a car in America, and still had all my fiduciary responsibilities over here. It's expensive and it's scary. And I know, by the way, I know I'd just be going back to America, okay? I know that, right? It's America. It's not Ukraine. It's not Gaza. It's not Yemen. It's actually a wonderful place to live so long as you never get sick and don't go to school. Nope, I'm gonna let you sit in that discomfort. My country. But just because you're not from someplace doesn't mean it's not your home, you know? Home is where your heart is, and my heart was here in the UK because I fucking love it here. I love this country. I love how you can get anywhere by train. And when I say train, I mean rail replacement bus. It's brilliant. And I love British audiences. Oh my God, I love them. Like, did you ever go see comedy when you lived in Florida? Yeah, it's a different vibe, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed, but this side of the room is very excitable.
We can say cunt here.
We can say cunt here. Isn't that fun?
So fun.
I know. Oh my gosh, I was going to go into a different bit, but let's discuss that. One time I went back to New York, right? I went back to New York and I was doing shows there and I just said cunt on stage without even thinking about it, and that audience tightened up like I had said the N-word. Like it was. But here, cunt, oh my God, cunt. Who's your best friend? That cunt. Like, it's a beautiful word. Yeah, he's your best cunt. Of course he is. It's great. But American audiences, too, they're so excitable, right? Like, American audiences, all you have to do is walk on stage and say a life milestone, and they'll applaud. Like, if you're like, hey, I've just had a birthday, immediately they'll applaud, you know? Or if you're like, hey, I just got married, they'll applaud. Or if you're like, hey, I got diagnosed with ADHD, Americans would have applauded. But in the UK, silence. And you just look at me like, the punchline better be coming quick. Or we're gonna glass you. And I love that sense of danger. And I loved my boyfriend, you know? We had a house together. Well, we had a flat. Well, we rented. We rented a very small flat. But I did everything I was supposed to do, you know. I met all the criteria. I did everything right. It's like if I went up to one of you. Like, what is your name, by the way? May. It's good to meet you, May. Thank you so much for sitting in the front row. I really appreciate it. And you've been a great audience member. You've been laughing. You've been looking at your friend being, me too. Like, you're fucking nailing this, May. You're welcome. Are you having a good time? Good. Now get out.
I'm Canadian, so I understand your visa issues.
You understand my visa issues? You're about to understand them more, Miss 51st State. Of course, I am joking. Internet. Obviously, you don't have to leave, but that's what it feels like, right? That all of a sudden you're having a great time, and someone's like, dude, you have to get out of here. It's scary, you know? And then our court date, it finally arrived. December 18th, 2019. And when you go to immigration court, have you had to go to immigration court? Have you ever done this?
For other reasons.
I'm sure you have. I don't know if you guys know this, but weed is legal in the 51st state. And I'm sure in your house it still is. When you go to immigration court, right, you're encouraged to bring your friends and your family to show that you have a community in this country. And I invited my friends, but only the famous ones. Because I figured if I couldn't impress the judge, maybe he'd want an autograph from Angela Barnes off of Dave's Dangerous Roads. And I was picturing like a courthouse like you see in the movies, this big, opulent, old building. That's not what immigration court looks like. You walk into the waiting room and it looks like a dentist's office that cut the budget on ficus plans. And what happens is they give you a court day, they do not give you a court time. So they post everyone on the wall and they just see as many people as possible. There is no guarantee they will see your case that day. So I am watching people come and go looking absolutely crushed, right? So I saw one woman, she didn't have a lawyer and she was just sat there with her papers shaking because she knew she was going to have to go argue by herself in front of a judge. And I saw another woman, she did have a lawyer, and her lawyer came up to her and was like, it's bad news, I'm afraid. They're not going to see your case today, but it's okay, we can come back in a few months. A few months of just more waiting. And there I am surrounded by friends and family and a lawyer. I am the only white person there, and it was so hard for me, and I had everything. I had Candy Bar Lawyer. We had to have my case seen that day because she was hosting a comedy show in Milton Keynes that night. And she was going up to that court clerk every 15 minutes being like, hi, here's the thing. My client, right, is a friend of mine who I said I would do some paperwork for about a year ago, and it's escalated into this, and now she texts me 30 times a day, and if you don't see her case right now, I'm leaving the fucking country. And my case got called. Finally, we walk into the courtroom. Again, I am picturing this big, opulent courtroom like you see on TV, oak walls. That is not what it looks like. I was expecting wigs. No one was in a wig except for Candy Bar Lawyer, and hers was inappropriate for the occasion. It looks like a community college classroom, and there's a table and chair for Candy Bar Lawyer, a table and chair for me, a table and chair for the home office lawyer, and a table and chair for the judge. There are not enough chairs for my friends and family, so all my friends are just sat on the windowsill. It is Angela Barnes next to ITV's Beck Hill, next to the Dark Room's John Robertson, next to the Circle's Tom Horton. Like I said, a star-studded cast. And I'm just looking at my friends like, if I jump out the window, we don't have to do this, you know? Because we were waiting for the home office lawyer, walked in late. This young, blonde, posh, eating mess of a boy just waltzes in and is like, apologies to the court. I have no proof, but I'm pretty sure he's one of Boris Johnson's illegitimate children. And he sits down and it all starts, and the judge is only asking Candy Bar Lawyer questions, not just asking her questions, berating her, interrupting her, not even letting her get a word in edgewise, to a point where I wanted to be like, did you guys date and have a weird breakup? Because this feels personal. And I wasn't even asked any questions, and I was told I would have to testify, and I wanted to testify. I'm a stand-up comedian with ADHD. Telling me to sit still and be quiet is torture. I wasn't even allowed to look up BFACs on my phone. And the judge even asked Candy Bar Lawyer, he was like, well, why aren't they married? And I just wanted to stand up and be like, because he won't marry me, and I'm fine with that. Who needs a wedding when you have a Pinterest board? And then it was the home office's lawyer's chance to argue. And he is just up out of his seat, parading around the room like he owns it, and his parents probably do. And he looks at the judge and goes, and she's been renewing these 3-month visas every 3 months for 5 years. And the judge actually looked back at him and said, that isn't illegal, but it is cheeky. That's me, legally cheeky. But he is coming to the end of his speech, and this fucking eaten mess leans himself up against the windowsill, and I'm thinking, if he falls, I don't have to jump. And he's leaning up against it, and he goes, "We would have had no problem accepting her application if she had applied from America, where she's supposed to be." And that's when I realized that I didn't fuck up the application. Like, it wasn't me. And Candy Bar, the lawyer, looks at him and goes, "Well, if you would have accepted it from there, why can't you accept it from here?" And he just looks at her and goes, "Well, there are rules, you know." And she is sitting down, working so damn hard, and he is just up parading around this room, and I am getting so angry, but she looks at eaten mess and smiles so sweetly and goes, "Yes, I know. There are rules. In fact, I can't accept your argument while you're standing over there where you're not supposed to be. You're going to have to come and sit down where you are supposed to be." And she should have won whatever lawyer version of Live at the Apollo is just for that fucking mic drop. Oh my God, I have always wanted a lawyer who could write a brief, tell a joke, twirl a nipple tassel, and chew up eaten mess for breakfast. That's fucking power. And then it ended. And the judge said, "Okay, I've heard both of the arguments. I'm now going to go away and read the document." And I was just like, finally, someone's going to read it. Enjoy it. We left in the photos. And he goes, "I will then send you my judgment later on." So then we left, and it was Christmas holidays. So that's what we did. We went to Christmas holidays. Usually for Christmas, Tom and I would go to Tom's dad's in Spain. By the way, I forgot to tell you this. Like, our friends were there. Tom's whole family showed up for this hearing. Like, Tom's dad lived in Spain, and he flew over, and his mom lived in France, and she flew. I'm the only one who wants to live in this fucking country with Tom, you know? And they wanted to take me away from him. They wanted to take him away from me. Before I had met Tom, he had broken his back, his neck, his arms. Since he had met me, no broken bones, because I followed him around with a fucking cushion. But, like I said, we usually go to Spain for Christmas to be with Tom's dad. But ironically, when they're trying to kick you out of the UK, you are not allowed to leave the UK. So Tom's dad stayed in the country, and we got an Airbnb, and we went to Wales for Christmas. And, we did what you do at Christmas. We just pretended everything was fine. You know, as there's a low hum of catastrophe under the Christmas turkey. Everything's fine. And then on Christmas Eve, we got this call from the courts, and I picked up the phone, and they were like, "Hi, we have your judgment here. We'd like to send it to you. We just need your fax number." But we did have a fax number because we were in Wales, where it is the past. And so we sent them the fax number, and they sent us the judgment, and I gave it to Tom, and I was like, "Tom, you have to be the one to read it. I can't be the one to read it. You have to be the one to read it." And my sweet, autistic, ADHD, queer partner looks at the judgment and looks at me and goes, "I don't know what it says." Neither of us can read at that high of a level. I've never even finished The Hobbit. And just so you have an idea, right? The question was very simple. Am I allowed to remain in the UK? Yes or no? They sent us a 9-page document, and yes or no are not in it once. Like, it is very dense reading. Just to give you an idea, this is what it says. The appellant, that's me, had regularly visited the UK in the last 5 years. She made over 30 visits using 3-month visas, which, by the way, you're not allowed to do that anymore. I changed that law. That was me. I did it. She was in a relationship with a sponsor during that time. The sponsor, that's Tom, was in full-time employment and was suffering from medical conditions, although it was not too serious. Not too serious. Oh, go fuck yourself. broken bones, skin cancer, autism. Have you ever met a man with a cold? Having considered the matter in its totality, I am just about satisfied that the appellant's case was exceptional, which therefore justified the consideration of the appeal outside the English period. English what? English what? We didn't know what the fuck that meant. So we were like, we have to call Candy Bar Lawyer, and we're like, there's no way she's answering the phone. It's Christmas Eve. She picks up on the first ring. She's like, what do you want? I'm about to go on at a Jewish community center. The woman never stops working. And we were like, we got the judgment in, but the words, they're too big. And we took a picture of it, and we sent it to her, and there was this big pause as she read it, and then she goes, it worked. You get to stay in the UK. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know, you guys were like, how does it end? It's 2025, and she's in front of us right now. Where could this be going? But it worked, and we ran downstairs, and we told Tom's family, and the champagne had already been popped because it was Christmas in Britain at 8 a.m. And Tom's dad hugged me, and his sister hugged me, and they said, welcome to the family. And it was the best day of my life. And that afternoon, Tom and I went on a walk through the Welsh hills, and for the first time in a year, we could talk about our future, and we could make plans. And Tom looked at me and said, 2019 was the worst. 2020's gonna be our year!